Ryan, how's it going?
Going good. How are you doing today?
Oh, very good, very good. Welcome everybody to Cloud Connect here. We're glad to. I'm actually joining here today from Arizona, so I'm on spring break with my family. Ryan, you're in the home office
Yep.
for
It's
once.
your turn to travel while I'm at home.
Love it, love it. Well, either way, wherever folks are joining from, good morning, good afternoon. I think we've got a fun or interesting topic teed up for today. Something that Ryan and I work together a ton. You know, I'm a security specialist here at Microsoft. He is a customer success account manager as a part of our unified support organization. And we really just wanted to have the opportunity to visit about, really what is unified support? What are the benefits and the advantages that customers, who leverage the service get to utilize? So really just wanted to give Ryan the opportunity today to talk about it a little bit, and hopefully, just inform and educate folks at what that organization does for our customers. So without further ado, Ryan, we want to kick it off and talk about
Yep.
unified support.
Yeah. So I also want to point out that we will talk about some other stuff afterwards. So don't feel like this is going to be just unified support. Stick around for the vacation rental sales piece, then we'll do some fun stuff afterwards.
Love
But I'm going to share my screen real quick, and see which monitor it lets me share. There we go. All right. So this is a little bit about unified support. So for those who don't know, unified support is something that's been available now for quite a while at Microsoft. It used to be called Premier Support. Now it's unified. We changed the name, changed the service. So I'm gonna dive into this pretty quickly so we can run through this. It's designed with two goals in mind. One, meet your foundational needs. What we have here is you have access to 24/7 reactive support. This is unlimited for everything that has a Microsoft name and is not end of life. If you have things like Server 2012 or older versions of SQL Server, or things that are out of support, we'll help with the ESUs. If you've bought extended security updates, we'll help with that. But otherwise, you're looking at things that we currently support for this. You get access to a customer success account manager at someone like me. We typically have 6 to 8 customers, so you're going to get a lot of time with your CSAM, we call them. So it's monthly syncs, depending on how much you want to talk to them, I guess. Some customers I talk to every couple of days. Some I talk to once a month. Just depends on what you want out of your relationship. Then you also get things like advisory support, which is instead of break fix, those are how-to questions. Those are also unlimited. You can open advisory support questions. Then we've got a lot of stuff, and it's called Services Hub, and I'll show you that in a second here. So that's the first part. That's sort of the core part of Unified. And then we have this proactive side, where essentially we will, if you talk to us about Unified, we'll spend a lot of time talking about what it is you're working on, what your environment looks like, what you need help with, and we will build out a proactive service of engineer-led engagements to help you succeed, to meet your goals, to finish a project, whatever it is. So that's the other half of this, is you get all this break fix support and on-demand assessments, all these other things that are unlimited and available to you all the time. And then you get these proactive engineer time engagements to help.
Ryan, real quick. So
Yeah.
in your previous life, did you guys at the city have Premier unified support?
Yeah, we started with Premiere. We switched to Unified a couple years before I left, and it was incredibly valuable to us. I was deeply technical resource there, so I actually didn't do too much. I normally didn't need a whole week of engineer time to help me, start using Intune or Hello for Business or something like that. Instead, what I used traditionally was these sort of one-off custom calls with engineers. Because what I really needed, standing up always on VPN, and I hit a weird roadblock, and I just wanted to talk to an engineer and just sort of talk through this process. And so I'd reach out to our CSAM, let her know what I needed, and she'd get an engineer for me, and we'd just jump on a call and spend an hour or two diving into something as deep as we could. It was really helpful to have that one-off time for that help, right? Because again, I didn't need days. I didn't need support. I just needed someone who really knows this to help me walk through it. And so it runs the gamut there between, maybe a 1-day workshop up to, you know, uh, a retainer. So we have now an instant response retainer where if you feel like either as part of your cybersecurity contract or just in general, you want to have this engineer retainer, you can add that to your contract. And let's say you're close into your contract, you haven't been hacked yet. Congratulations, you didn't need the retainer. What we'll do is we'll use all that time and do some really big engagements for you to help with security in your environment. So it's a huge break, right, between very small things to months long engagements with engineers to help.
Yeah.
Um,
It's interesting. I mean, it honestly sounds like the unified team, yourself, the technical resources are honestly almost like an extension of the customer's organization.
yeah,
I mean,
and
is that a pretty fair
that,
assumption?
that's that's the goal. And I will be completely honest, does not always happen. I have some customers some that I talk to every single day, it feels like, and I enjoy that relationship. And I have some that just we don't really talk much, right? They're doing the things they're doing, and they don't really need me to be that involved in their organization. But ideally, what we're doing is you have me or someone like me, and the more you involve us, the better your results are, right? The more you involve us in planning. Hey, we've got this weird project coming up. Our library is going to be rolling out some new software. We're trying to figure out how we're going to deploy that. Do you think you guys can help us?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Let's talk through that, right? Oh, we're switching our email domain from .com to .gov, or we just merged with another company. How are we going to do this successfully, right? The earlier you get unified and your CSAM involved, the better the process is going to be for you.
Yeah.
So, absolutely. I mean, the same way you think of internally, you've got staff who, oh gosh, if I talk to Grant more often, we work well together. I just don't talk to him as much as I probably should to really make use of that. This is just another tool you have access to, and ideally, we're there to be that partner, right? So if you have an account team, we're just another resource to sit along with them to help you go through this stuff.
Yeah. And you guys, I mean, you'll obviously work with Microsoft partners. I mean, if organizations have previous relationships, if they need, additional assistance outside of, what you guys can help with, that's not a problem either, correct?
Yeah. So on this slide here, the third line down, we've got third-party support listed here. So this is actually one of the things that I loved getting to do in my previous role at the city of Boulder. Was, let's say you're having an issue and one vendors a lot of times will point to each other, right? Like, we're not really sure where the issue lies. So Cisco is going to say it's Microsoft. Microsoft's going to say it's Cisco. And you get kind of stuck in the middle going, well, no one's going to help me because they're both going to say it's the other person. We will jump on a call with that other person. So you can set up a call and our engineer will get on the call with you and their engineer to start talking through this stuff. And sometimes you kind of have to, sorry, if you hear some heavy breathing, my puppy just came inside and collapsed on the floor. She's out in the sun baking herself. You may have to sort of ambush the third-party vendor by having Microsoft show up. But we will absolutely show up and we will work directly with that other vendor to help you figure out what's going on. And one thing that I really like about this as well is, so I talked about the 24/7 support, right? It's as needed, so you can open as many as you'd like to. And then we've got some severity levels here. I'll flip to. I typically tell customers open severity B is really a good place to start. You can see the expected response time for your tickets. If you have a severity A or severity 1 ticket, that's when we will work 24/7 with you. So once you open that, you get assigned an escalation manager and an engineer, and they will work with you until it's fixed, regardless of the time. Assuming you're available, right? If you decide you need to go to bed and get some sleep, they'll downgrade it to severity B until you wake back up and get back on the call. But what's nice is there's no one policing what the severity is. So if you decide, for us, maybe the city manager's computer all of a sudden stopped working and we just need this to get fixed immediately, we could open a severity A for a computer because
Hmm.
this is a critical issue we need to get fixed, right? Microsoft is not going to go, I think this is wrong. Let's adjust that. So you decide the severity. You can open every single case as a severity A if you wanted to. I wouldn't. Just it's a lot of it's a lot of communication. Um, but totally up to you how you're going to do that. Um,
Yeah, I mean, what you just walked through, like that seems like a pretty holistic and comprehensive like approach to, if we do have break fix support we need to work on. It's
mhm.
very, lined out. This is what you're going to get. This is the SLA behind it. I know that, the included or the free support that comes with a lot of Microsoft services um, can be a little bit deceiving, right? Of, really who are you going to talk to? When is the availability going to be? Can they actually help? So having those clear kind of lines, right? Of, hey, this is what you're going to get. Here's the SLA. Here's the expectation from, Microsoft, from you, the customer. And then obviously we got to work together on it, like you said, right?
Yeah.
Um, you know,
And
hopefully we don't have to do a lot of break fix stuff. We hopefully we can take care of a lot of it with the proactive services, the proactive support.
mhm.
But obviously there's always going to be a case where we need help and we need help fast. So let's make sure that we've got the right resources aligned.
Yeah. And just to be clear, there may be times that you put in a ticket and you're not getting the help in the no in the time frame you expect, or the engineer you get is taking longer than you need them to or want them to. Um, a big part of this as well, the second line there, escalation management, is you have access to your CSAM, and there's a 24/7 alias you can email um, to get escalation from it. And this is something that happens, that I do for my customers as needed. I have a customer right now that's having an issue with a ticket. And so they emailed me and said, hey, this engineer, I feel like keeps asking for these logs. I think we're past that. Can you help? Absolutely. I reach out to the engineer, their manager, and say, let's get this escalated to to someone else or to another level of support. Because I think we're past where we need to be with this customer, and off we go. Right? It's not a personal thing. It's not something that I have no problem doing it. CSAMs know this is part of the role. And as a customer, it's something that I kind of expected as well. When I open tickets, if I didn't get someone I wanted very quickly, my CSAM's guidance was escalate early and often if you feel like you need more help. So advocate for yourself and know that your CSAM and Unified is there to help facilitate that. So that's absolutely part of it, right? Is if you open a ticket now and don't have Unified, you're kind of just stuck with whoever you get. You don't really have a good escalation path. But when you've got tens of thousands of tickets opened every hour with Microsoft, unfortunately, there's going to be some sort of line, and this
Yeah.
essentially lets you skip the line, right? Congratulations, you become a VIP. Let Bouncer Ryan help you get through the door a little faster. So,
But love the analogy.
give you some bottle service in the back. Um, so, and then real quickly, going through a couple other things you get with this. I mentioned Services Hub. This is a website where you go to open tickets. You also have access to what are called on-demand assessments here. I think there are 18 of them now available to you. These are scheduled tasks for most of them that run on a server in your environment, and they pull an enormous amount of data. So you've got things like Active Directory, AD security. There's a list down here, right? You got Exchange, Windows Server, Windows Client, SCCM or Configuration Manager, SharePoint, and it pulls all this data and then gives you a really detailed report of what you need to do. It does that in an Excel spreadsheet. It does it in a PowerPoint, which is really interesting. The PowerPoint is more like an executive level summary of what's there. But it gives you some really, I'm going to warn you, it gives you a ton of information. So be ready if you start one of these and go, oh, my work just tripled. but there's a reason it's there, right? All this stuff is given to you with a lot of guidance. Here's the problem. Here's why we think it's a problem. Here's why we rate it this way. Here are the exact steps to take to remediate this problem. We're not just going to say, you got too many domain administrators and leave it at that. We're going to tell you why it's a problem. Here's how to fix it. Here's how to troubleshoot it. All that's presented to you very clearly. And those, again, run on they're scheduled to run once a week by default. You can change that as you need to, but all that's available to you as part of your contract. You also have access to a huge learning library, which is incredibly powerful. It's thousands of video lessons, thousands of labs, covering everything Microsoft provides. The videos could be 6 minutes long. They could be 2 days long. It totally depends on the video and the topic. And this goes from 100 level, very entry level, up to, as technical as you could ever want to get. And same with the labs. The labs start super simple and they end up with what are called challenge labs, where it gives you a demo, basically a sandbox environment, and says, hey, go raise the functional level of this domain. That's all it's going to tell you. And it's not going to say you're complete until you've done that task. So you can still get on the internet and look it up, right? You could, what you do normally in your day-to-day job. But at least you're getting to do it in a safe environment. So there's a lot of really good stuff there. And what's nice is you can have up to 200 people loaded into able to access Services Hub, and you can decide what they have access to. So you could give, maybe you've got, a tech insiders group, users in your organization who are more tech savvy. You could give them access to just the training part of Services Hub, right? They don't open tickets, but I want them to be able to, take some, Power Automate classes, right? Or maybe they're more interested in the new Outlook and how that functions. Great, go do some on-demand videos for Outlook. So all this is part of it. Unlimited training, unlimited on-demand assessments, reactive support, and then all the engineer hours. And I'm going to finish with, I think, the most important slide here, because we can talk about this, but it doesn't really matter if you don't know how to plan for it or what it is. This is what to expect in terms of the pricing. So when you jump on a call with us, we'll walk through all this with you, sort of what to expect. For most people, it works out to about 10%, or around 10% of their Microsoft spend per year for Unified. So, if you spend $120 million in Azure, come talk to me and we'll get you signed up, because that's be cool to see. But otherwise, this is Unified. It is an investment, but it's an investment that can really pay off for you, right? To have another resource in Microsoft who gets to know you as an organization and as people, and can be that partner for you to help you start driving more of what you need to get done.
Well, I think when we work with customers, Ryan, I mean, a big challenge that folks face is we're trying to stay up to date with the technology. The landscape has grown, right? There's a ton of different solutions potentially. There's a ton of different problems we're trying to solve. I'm sure you guys are probably talking a lot about generative AI, Copilot. I mean, there's a lot of new things that are coming up, right? And just having that resource, obviously I try to do my best at partnering with my clients and, have as many conversations as possible, but I'm really a one-to-many resource, obviously depending on the segment of where you sit in the unified support. There's maybe going to be a little bit of differences in, kind of what the alignment looks like. But, if you're 1 to 5 or 6 and I'm 1 to 100, there's a pretty significant difference there.
Yeah.
So again, I think it's just it's an investment that an organization is going to have to make. But I think if you would look at, the ROI of, okay, what more can we do? How can we be strategic? How can we level up our internal staff, right? Make them better. Hopefully, retain talent, keep folks in your organization, attract talent, right? I mean, that's a big thing that a lot of our customers we work with is how can we attract talent? I think by having things like this can just be super helpful. Again, not only for the organization as a whole, but even for the folks that work in the organization.
Yeah. And I mean, you brought up Copilot. I think is an important thing to mention here. That's something that I have customers who are starting to ask me about it, which I support mainly government, so I get to tell them, nope, sorry, not yet, soon maybe. But one of the things that Unified brings you is also someone who, you know, isn't on the sales side of this. So when you ask that question, right, and I say this knowing this would be your response as well, right? Is like, let's talk about it, but also you can't just start using Copilot, right? There's a ton of stuff we need to get ready for you, which part of this is going to be data, right? How are you protecting your data? How do you have it tagged properly, right? Do you know if someone is going to ask Copilot a question, it's going to return something they shouldn't see? Um, and so one of the big things we're doing now is focusing a lot on data governance and things like Purview. Right. A lot of the work that I end up doing is helping customers make use of what they've already paid for. Because I'm not incentivized at all for you buying more stuff. Right. So my whole the way I'm judged as a CSAM is, are you using what you've already purchased? And so most of my time is spent focused on like, hey, do you know you have these licenses and you're not using them yet? Let's talk about that. Right. Or, oh, you don't need those anymore? Great. What else can we do to help then? And so the Copilot piece, which everyone's going to have at some point, I feel like there's no way, it's too powerful to imagine not having at some point. But we can help you get to a place where you can actually use it appropriately. Right. I posted recently about this on LinkedIn that, you may have files shared somewhere that people don't know they have access to because they just haven't drilled down far enough, or they don't know to go look for it. But Copilot is going to see everything. And so if that file is shared with someone, it'll return data from that file, whether or not you meant to share it with them. And so it's really important that you start to look at how you manage your data, what you do with it. We're releasing really good guidance now about how to start that process. Um, but what does it look like for you as an organization? Do you have staff who know how to do this work? Maybe not. Not all organizations are big enough to have a dedicated team who manages data. But you don't even know to ask that question until you talk to someone like Grant, right? Because Grant's going to ask you the same question. What are you doing to protect? Like, what are you doing security wise for your data? Right? How are you managing your environment? Um, and then Unify gets to be someone to help with that, whether it's helping you find a partner or if it's us helping you ourselves. Right? This is just one of those things that I think we're in a new world, man, and it's just going to keep getting wilder for people. So, got to help where we can.
Oh, indeed. So we got 5 minutes left. Was there any burning news articles or updates you wanted to share? I know you've obviously, I was looking at your news article here earlier today. You're always, of course, putting a bunch of content together about updates and new things coming out. So if folks haven't subscribed to the newsletter, definitely do that. But anything you want to call out specifically?
Yeah, so there's a couple things that are happening now that I think people need to be aware of. Some of these are going to be more enterprise management than just like general news. Um, Cloud.Microsoft is sort of rolling out in more force now. If anyone's ever tried to set up Microsoft 365 or any of the services, you'll know we have a website that lists like hundreds of IP addresses and URLs that you should be whitelisting to make sure data is flowing freely between us and your environment. Um, Microsoft recently got their own top level domain. So we have .microsoft instead of .com. Um, and so what we now have is cloud.microsoft that everything will start flowing through. So you can whitelist a single address and that'll handle all communication for all Microsoft services. So you can trust this one URL, this one domain to handle everything. And that's we announced, I think, last November. We announced it finally. Said it'll be happening next year. Well, it's next year and it's happening. So you don't have to change what you have now, but if you add cloud.microsoft, you'll be able to start slowly chopping off some of the old stuff, and eventually clear all that out, which is going to, one, make you more secure, two, it makes it easier to manage, and then three, you don't have to, go back and go, oh god, I got to add another URL or another IP address to our firewall to let Microsoft in. Nope, just do this one thing. So that's a new exciting thing that's come out and is available for people. So something to keep in mind. And then I mentioned data protection. We have new controls for what are called restricted SharePoint search for Copilot for Microsoft 365 as a service now. So there's new options in there for you to start restricting what Copilot has access to in your environment at the library level, rather than just individual files or trying to do it through normal RBAC controls. So if you're looking at Copilot and how it's going to interact with SharePoint, we've heard a lot of the discussions from people about how that works and what they're worried about. So we're listening. We're rolling out new features already for that. So keep an eye on it. Then
that'll be
last little thing.
That'll be one you and I'll have to visit more about next week, because I think, really our initial guidance was, hey, let's make sure, everything's labeled, classified correctly.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's still a best practice, of course,
Absolutely.
right? But it'll be interesting to see.
Say like HR, right? Like we're gonna block HR, finance, some of those libraries.
Sure.
I don't care how you label it, right? Because maybe you label something wrong accidentally with my payroll information on it.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. We've just said that whole library is invisible to Copilot, right? You can still get to like the front-facing libraries, all the guides, like our HR guidelines. Yeah, those are all still there. But these back things, don't even bother.
Nice.
Still obviously label them and protect them properly. But tell you what, I'll save the rest for next time.
Perfect.
We've got a couple other ones, but no, I think there are things that we can chat about next week. So
perfect. Well, this was great, Ryan. I appreciate you, talking through Unified, and of course, if anybody has questions about it, obviously, shoot you a ping, email, hit you up on LinkedIn. Of course, we're always happy to talk about it, and if there's anybody that we can help support, give it more information, of course, we're happy to do that.
Yeah, there's a ton of value there if you've got the interest. So, the conversation never hurts. So let me know.
Awesome. All right. Appreciate everybody joining. We'll see you guys all soon.